Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dose of Common Sense. Now, if common sense is supposed to be so damn common, well, how come it seems like nobody has it? And good morning, everybody. How we doing today? Welcome to the Dose of Common Sense. How y'all doing? Alrighty, we got a lot to get through tonight, so let's go ahead and get started. Number one, some good news. So, blue smartphones. They were banned on the Amazon Marketplace a couple of days ago, and wouldn't you know it, they're back selling again. So apparently what had happened was last year Blue had a little bit of an issue with a third-party security firm known as CryptoWire. And CryptoWire was able to demonstrate that some user data was going to China with one of the applications that Blue carried on its smartphone. Well, the research firm CryptoWire double-checked Blue's firmware last year when the whole thing was coming up, and apparently that particular issue was fixed, but apparently we had that issue pop up again. So apparently they have addressed those issues again, and as of a couple hours ago, Blue was back on the Amazon Marketplace. I guess that's what happens when truth does win out. And if you're in a great big glass house, don't throw the first stone. They're a CryptoWire. Welcome to that world. See, that got you quite a bit far, didn't it, my friends? So, after that snafu got covered up, here's one from the Are You High file? Maybe. So apparently, a couple of years ago, or maybe even as late as last year, Snapchat, or how should we say this, Snap Incorporated, was offered $30 billion to sell the entire company to Google. And they shockingly said no. Now, of course, Snapchat at the time was only worth about, I'd say about $4 billion at the time. And since, of course, they put out Snapchat Spectacles, and a few other things took place, and Snapchat ended up having their IPO, Google actually made another attempt to buy Snap Incorporated for upwards of $30 billion. That's right, billion with a B. And it was a little bit before Snap's IPO. And according to news sources, the deal is still on the table. Now, you know what? I don't know if I 100% believe in every detail in this particular story, but one of the sources is actually named, and it's Business Insider. So I believe more of this than I don't. So apparently the offer is still on the table, whether or not Snap is actually in the position, or even if they want to at this point sell, they still can. I'm not looking for it, to be 100% honest with you. So it looks like at this particular point, Snap is pretty much fine on its own, at least at the moment anyway. So there is that. Good going, Snap. You managed to make it on your own, and managed to do it without Google's intervention, shall we say. So we're going to go maybe into a little bit of a rant, maybe not. So, oh boy. So the renders not only of the Pixel 2 XL were out with very minimum bezel and a very, I'm going to just say it, very sexy design. Apparently the Pixel 2, the regular Pixel 2, the one not created by LG but HTC, those renders are starting to surface now, and I'm scratching my head on this. So as we know, every smartphone manufacturer this year, at least major manufacturer, has dramatically decreased the size of the bezel and managed to do the 18:9 or yes 2:1 or 2.5:1 or whatever they decided to do. Apparently everyone's managed to make that ratio except for HTC. Now HTC wasn't that into it to begin with. Let's just say that HTC decided to stick with its own ways, and to a certain extent, they've managed to have a little bit of success. Except for maybe this phone. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm scratching my head here is I can kind of see the headphone jack being gone from the Pixel 2 XL because it is rather large, and it has minimum bezel, to say the least. And yada yada yada. It apparently matches all the criteria to achieve this. However, the Pixel 2 XL, as we all know, or the Pixel 2, excuse me, was made by HTC. And apparently this has bezels for days. Excuse me. And apparently not only that, but this thing doesn't have a headphone jack either. Which just leads me to say, what the F is going on with this? HTC, didn't you learn by now, if you iterate a design over and over and over and over and over again, don't you realize you might lose particular customers? Now, I understand that you're only the manufacturer for this. You're not the one that is basically putting in the full design. Although maybe you are. I don't know exactly what your contract is with Google on this. But here's my particular question. Whoever did the design for the Pixel 2 probably should be fired, or have their hands chopped off, or be put in a locked door, because this looks iterative. I mean, this literally looks like it was done again, the exact same way it was done before. There is no way that this could be the way it is, of course, unless you guys fell off the turnip truck. So we'll see what happens. I've just got a bad feeling about this. You know, I have a feeling the Pixel XL2 is going to smash records, and I have a feeling the Pixel 2 might end up being just like LG's friends were on the G5. It's going to be one of those relatives that you kind of wish you didn't really have. So, we'll see. I mean, as of this particular moment, I don't hold out much hope for it. I could be very much wrong. I kind of hope I am. I have a feeling I'm not. So, keep an eye on this one, folks. I've just, like I said, I've got a feeling we're going for this same old crap over and over again. And I just wish it would be different. I don't care if it's for the sake of being different or not. I just, you know, the Pixel XL the regular Pixel and the Pixel XL didn't really light my fire last year. If I wanted a really good copy of the Pixel XL, I would have just went out and, well, I actually did. I went out and got the iPhone. But we'll leave that one alone for now. Like I said, it's kind of nuts. So, in this particular case, it's just crazy. I just wish they stuck with go with something new, guys. Don't put the same mess over and over again. But I digress. next up is going to be the FCC. The FCC is finally at full strength once again. Jessica Rosenworcel and Mr. Carr, and I forgot his first name to save my life, I do apologize. They were confirmed early Thursday afternoon by Congress. So apparently, not only are they back at full strength, but they are also now majority Republican. Joy. Guys, don't plan on putting any major legislation through these idiots unless you want to completely lose net neutrality, which you may very well do. This is not it's not explicit, at least not yet. I just wonder exactly where the F we're going to go with this. I kind of feel bad in a way, but then again, at the same time, you kind of get what you paid for, so to speak. So, I don't know. Maybe things will change between now and the time that the reversal in net neutrality is actually bidded on or voted on or whatever. So, we'll go from there. So, next up, this is definitely from the Are You High file. So there's this application, for those of you who do not know, it's called LastPass. And for us tech nerds, we know what this is, but I'll just review it real quick. Basically, you download the app, and it used to be $12 a year. You would sign up for the premium version. Basically what it does is it takes all your passwords and it changes them, secures them, and basically it improves your privacy by about a factor of 5, at least. I never had too big of an issue with it. However, apparently they moved 2 previously free features over to the paid plan, and they doubled the price to $24 a year. Why? This is just what we want. Features that are available on free, and we sucker and go for it. And after we do that, you guys turn around and you not only put it on the paid part, but then you double the price. I don't see your fan base improving by this, unless you want to issue a comment. I don't see your fan base improving at all. So, we'll just have to see how that turns out to be. If you update this to include some features that let us know when someone's attempted to hack the account, I can actually understand this. I really can. But until then, it kind of sucks. Not only for us that believed in LastPass to begin with, but those that were thinking about joining with LastPass now. So I'm just kind of dreading this one. I'm trying to stay positive, but I don't see this one happening. So watch your wallets, folks. Times are a-changing. And speaking of times changing, it used to be where you weren't able to get NFL anywhere except for television or cable. But apparently, Amazon, as of this coming year, will feature 11 NFL games online. And Amazon is the one that will be broadcasting this. You do have Twitter with its NFL deal. I can't remember the exact specifics, but if you happen to know it, send me a tweet at TechFiles. I'll be sure to pass that on to you when I get it. Also, Twitter has its deal where it broadcasts replays on a regular basis, and now you're going to have Amazon. So I'm kind of curious to see what Amazon's going to do with this. I really am. I don't see it going too badly because the NFL has one of its highest audiences ever these days. There was almost, I think there was almost 70 million that tuned in for the Super Bowl by itself. So there is that. And like I said, the popularity of the sport has definitely risen in the last few years. Unlike NASCAR, I kind of cry on that one a little bit. I am a NASCAR fan, folks, but lately I haven't been. And I'll get on that one at another time. But let's see what Amazon comes up with for these NFL games. Having somebody new hosting these NFL games every once in a while, and I know it's TLDR to some people, but it was Fox that started to do this, that came up with the invention of the magic line for the line of scrimmage and first down, and they didn't like it, and the people that did it broke off and formed another company, and they've gotten a lot of money with such innovations as that particular one, the magic line. They've also managed to be able to put in advertisements without really changing a lot in the arenas or the venues, and they've also managed to where the emblem is not covering the athlete or the car when it goes by. So hey, let's see what comes out of this. I'm rather excited for this one. Speaking of exciting, the Moto E4 Plus is now available for purchase. And the price of this particular phone will definitely surprise you. I know it. It really surprised me. And what I mean by that is, normally when you get a hold of some of these Motorola phones, they're minimum of $179 to almost $500 for some of these. But apparently, unlike the Moto Z2 Force, which decided to go from $400 almost to $700, and I don't really see much of a difference between the Z2 Force and the Z2 Play, other than the fact that the Play actually has a better display. But the Moto E4 Plus happens to have a starting price of $129. And if I'm not mistaken at this, I do believe the $129 is actually it's for the unlocked version. Amazon selling the unlocked one starting at $129, and Verizon does have its GSM unlocked, but locked to its own CDMA service. But you can get it in two versions. You can get the E4 Plus in 16 or the 32 gig. And it does have micro SD support for up to 256. The 32 gig sells for $199. The 16 gig on Amazon, B&H, Best Buy, and Newegg is actually $179. But if you get it at Verizon, you can pick it up for $129 right now. So if you're a Verizon subscriber, or you just want to get this thing unlocked, if you want to get it unlocked, check it out at Amazon Prime. If you want to get it and you're a Verizon customer, you'll save $50 on it, but you're going to be locked into 2 years. So by all means, check it out. It's got a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so this thing has energy for days. And to be quite honest with you, I would almost rather get the 32 gig E4 Plus than I would get the Z2 Play. There's not really much of a difference between the two, guys. There really isn't. And I can pretty much say the Z2 Force at this particular point, unless they really do something massive with that display in upcoming shipments, Z2 Force, I'm going to recommend a pass. The display just sucks. They say it's a shatter shield. It's not really a shatter shield if you cover the front display with saran wrap. And that's what it feels like. So now, for those of you who have, and we all have this, okay? No matter where we're at now. United States, Europe, Australia, Russia even. We always have issues talking to people from foreign countries. But apparently there is an application called iTranslate that seeks to do real-time translation. And the application right now, if I'm correct on this one, just got released to the mainstream public. So if you're interested in learning a major language and at the same time you don't necessarily want to lose the conversation that you have with people around you, this might be a good application to download. So I would check this out on the App Store. It appears to be heading in the right direction. I'm actually kind of surprised that Google hasn't improved upon it. Or Google, this might be the next company you might want to buy. Because God knows there's plenty of us that can use it, including me. And speaking of plenty of people that can use certain things, we may end up having to go to the Are You High again. You got away with music here tonight, Frank. Okay. So, if you have the Amazon Tap or the Echo or the Dot for that matter, Amazon can play music through its devices, all of them. Doesn't have any issues in doing it whatsoever. Here's the interesting thing though. They actually, I don't know how this got out. I don't know if it's an Amazon announcement. I don't honestly find that likely. But I'll just say this. On the Tap and through Alexa, you can actually request Amazon to play, and I'm not kidding when I say this, baby making music. We all know what that is. So if this happens to be one of them, or this happens to be another version, or if that happens to be another part, yeah, I know. Anyway, I don't know necessarily if it's a skill that Amazon has installed in their Alexa app, but they can play baby making music, working out music. You can specify whichever one you want. Cooking music. Unfortunately, I don't have anything for cooking. I don't cook well. My wife says I could burn water, but anyway. Maybe that's a skill I can go through on one of the teaching websites. I don't know. But check out Alexa. You might have some surprising skills that can be developed in there. So, Amazon Alexa. You never know when you may need some baby music. Yeah. Welcome to that world. Speaking of welcoming stuff to the world, or re-welcoming it in certain cases, remember the Sharp Aquos, and remember also that I was reporting about Sharp coming out with a second set of smartphones. Well, it turned out I was right. It's the Aquos S2. Brace yourselves, kids. I don't think this one's going to be pretty. Well, I'll take that back. We have had the Mi Mix show up. That was a beautiful phone. I didn't have any issues with their actual Aquos. The only problem I had with it is I didn't like the way it handled phone calls. But then again, I guess who gets phone calls these days? The Sharp Aquos S2 is officially coming on August 14th. It should be announced about a week before. Definitely keep your eye out for this one. I'm kind of cringing on this one. I hope the Aquos S2 has a little bit more capability than the Aquos 1. This was basically a sneeze back in 2014. It came and then it went. And then it really went. Because after that, nobody heard of it again. Unless you went to a Sprint store and then it would be crying in its little corner. It was bunched in. But I digress. Let's get away from the sharp aquas before I lose my appetite. And we're going to come up with a little bit of Apple Watch rumors. The Apple Watch 3, set to debut by the end of the year, is rumored to have LTE enabled. Now, for those of you who do not have an LTE smartwatch, let me describe a little bit what that is. This will have a type of SIM on board the watch, and you don't have to have the watch with you in order to be able to figure out that you're getting a message or you're getting a phone call. The watches are supposed to handle phone calls anyway. You should be able to do it while you're away from the phone. I'm assuming that this is going to work exactly like the Gear app does now for the S3 Frontier, which will either do automatic call forwarding or it will work on its own LTE chip. So we will figure that one out. Keep your eyes peeled for the Apple announcement, gang, because apparently they're going to have more innovation than you can shake a stick at. So I'm actually pretty excited for that. I'm almost willing to trade my Gear S3 for an Apple Watch. Literally, I don't care if it's the Gear Watch 1 or the Apple Watch 1 or the Apple Watch 2. If anybody's interested in sending an Apple Watch and getting the Samsung Gear S in return, email me, show@techfilesmedia.com. I'm really sick of this. But I digress. We are going to get away from that Apple Watch rumor rapidly. So, next up is kind of a little bit of a "Are you high?" story again. In this particular case, the people I wonder if they're high or not would actually be in the government. So the U.S. Army has used DJI drones for quite a bit of things in the history that they've been using it. But apparently this last time here, lately they have decided not to use DJI anymore because of the vulnerability that you can hack DJI's firmware. I kind of think that's a little bit stupid, because if you're going to stop using a company because you're afraid you're going to hack a drone, if you try to hack something enough, you're going to hack it, okay? But to pretty much blame the people that you've been using for drones since God knows when, and I'm not talking about the Predator drones before somebody opens their mouth and says that stupid thing. I'm talking about survey drones. I'm talking about camera drones, reconnaissance drones, so on and so forth. The stuff you can use to train the troops with. This little claim by the U.S. Army ceasing use of the DJI drone because it's afraid that it's going to be hacked is kind of stupid. DJI, if there's one particular company when it comes to drones or gimbals that I trust, it's DJI. I don't think such horrendous activity can possibly happen to it. I could be wrong, I could be sounding completely stupid, but I doubt very seriously that I am. So if you're interested in that one, I would check out Engadget on that, because that just absolutely floors me. Speaking of things that absolutely floor me right now, T-Mo, as in our wonderful partners over at T-Mobile, have actually, one of these devices was leaked by other people, and that's what happens when you have your phones on, kids. You get notification tones that take up the microphone. Sorry, guys. So T-Mobile actually leaked this particular part. The T-Mobile is releasing two phones that's actually under their brand. One is called the Alchemy. And I can't remember what the other one is right now. Please forgive me for that. But apparently, they're going to be, one's made by Huawei and one's made by Coolpad. The Alchemy is the one that actually is made by Coolpad. And the release time for this, I'd say both of them, should be the end of the month. And the specs on these phones are not half bad. I kind of know why they're doing it. It's basically because it will operate better with T-Mobile's frequencies. They can do what they want with some of the firmware updates. And at the same time, they can also they can use those phones to improve upon their network. Now, for some unknown and God unforeseen reason, one of our wonderful news outlets in the States used this information and said, oh, by the way, if they do this, then, and I can't remember exactly what carrier it was. I think somebody said that if AT&T also started using Huawei, actually, no, the phones released by T-Mobile are going to be made by Coolpad. Hopefully they operate better because the original ones that were used by T-Mobile that were made by Coolpad wasn't really that great. Although software fixes have really done a number on it and improved the value. But AT&T is AT&T has actually confirmed the fact that the next major release by Huawei will be used by AT&T. Engadget said, oh my goodness, it's the first Huawei phone that's ever been used by a United States carrier. Now, I'm going to join Des here and John Legere and anybody over at T-Mobile that wants to say, wait. I'm going to do that right now, actually. Okay, so let's just stop for a minute. So the first Huawei phones that were actually used in the States, the first one was made by T-Mobile, or not made by T-Mobile, but sold by T-Mobile. And they were pretty popular at the time, and they stopped being in use roughly about 2013, 2014. The other one that was used by a company known as Cricket. That one sucked. That was a mercy killing. That is suddenly why it wasn't on the market for as long as it was. And I hate to say this, but the very first one that was used by Cricket was a strong supporter of me going back to T-Mobile. So, before you make the proclamation that that is the very first Huawei smartphone ever used in the United States by a United States carrier, take a step back and Google what you're saying. It's not the first one used in the United States. It's more than likely the fourth. And up until a certain point, they actually sucked. Now, speaking of past, present, and future, Huawei's offshoot, which is known as Honor, has decided to make the Honor 8 available for $259 in the States. My piece of advice is to go get this phone as fast as you can, because the Honor 8 is a very good phone. It's got an excellent camera, it's got mid-tier specs, and you're not paying the mid-tier price. It's actually got some specs that even resemble flagship. So, if I were you and would want a really good smartphone and didn't want anything that was sent out by LG or Motorola or anything like that, and just wanted something new and something to stand out from the crowd, I would actually get this Honor 8 about as fast as I could. So, check it out. My advice would be to check it on Amazon. That's probably the best place where you're going to find it. So, that would be what I would recommend to you. Amazon has also managed to release another unlocked phone. It's called the LG X Venture. That has been unlocked for use by all major U.S. carriers. I am sorry, I have not gone very far into the international market. To my international listeners, I do apologize. But Amazon has managed to make this available. And it's not a really bad phone. It's just not a really great phone. Has a Snapdragon 435. It's selling right now for just a touch under $300 right now. It does have IP68 and military A10G shock resistance. It is available on all carriers. Now, the only thing is the specs aren't even mid-tier. It is kind of a rugged phone, but it's not a real... Okay, let's just cut all the BS aside. This is basically what I would call an LG Aristo Mini. Very lowish tier specs, very lowish tier value, really mid-tier price if you were to pay for it completely unlocked. The only feature that this thing has that's worth anything is durability. I don't even know if the battery's worth it. So, if you're interested in the LG X Venture, check it out on Amazon. It is available there. Although I would kindly highly recommend that you might want to just see your way clear of this about as fast as you can, because it's not really that big of a deal. Ever. Ever in the history of anything. The only thing that this thing is most likely to do is most likely to be ranged as one of those phones we wish we could disinvent. So, and this one's going to go on the... I thought this was already how it was going to be, but apparently I was wrong. It wasn't there. But the Google Play Store search results now feature quality above quantity. I kind of thought that was the case as it sits. And normally what I would do is I would put this article, I would put this in the show notes and have you look at it, except for one particular problem. The source for this one is Phone Arena. And even though I don't have a problem with its website or its reporters, I mean... Trust me, if you happen to be a Phone Arena fan, look out for Steven Shank. He's very good when it comes to reviewing these phones. Here's the problem I have. I will not send any of my listeners to websites that give you... All sites give pop-up ads. I don't really have any questions about that. But I will not put anybody's website as a reference point that has one of these pop-up ads that say you've won an effing phone. And next thing you know, you are in lockdown land. You can't do anything, let alone find out what the bleeping news is. Really? Tell you what, when you guys get your frickin' pop-up ads straightened up, I'll start giving links to your articles. And then when you do that and everybody joins the bandwagon, I don't use ad block on any of my browsers. I don't expect to get drowned with ads, but I'm not sending my listeners to sites that do. Sullivan. Speaking of which, we do actually have a few more home screens that have been emailed to us at show@TechFiles Media. They're actually not that bad. I wish I had these a couple of days ago, but it looks like that we may be doing this ourselves. So I'll give you more progress on that as I get it. But if you have home screens that you'd like to send it to show@techfilesmedia.com. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, devices you want me to review, you can send emails there. If you want to tweet at me, you can on Twitter @TechFiles or TechFilesMedia. If you want to follow me on Instagram, TechFiles or TechFiles Media as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap the program for this evening. Thank you for having me in your cars, your homes, and your ears. I appreciate everybody listening to this program. You all have a wonderful night and an awesome weekend. And we will talk to y'all later. Stay classy, kids. And we'll catch y'all, unless something major develops, we'll catch y'all on Monday evening. Peace.